Good day, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November Adaptive Cards Community Call. This community call, we are having some guest speakers, Emily, Max, and Siddharth. They all work on Viva Connections, and you might have recognized Viva Connections from a prior community call that we had in June with Luca. And this time they're going to be sharing some updates that they have on their product and how it integrates with adaptive cards and demoing that. Then I'll briefly talk about some blog post and website updates that we have had since our version 1.5 release, and we can move over to the Q&A. And I think, Siddharth, you can go ahead and take it from here.
All right, thanks, JP. So let's start with a quick recap. I wanted to give a quick recap on Viva Connections and how the Adaptive Cards framework plays a big role in the extensibility world of Viva Connections for both first-party and third-party components, and how the developers can use that to extend Viva Connections experience in the dashboard. Viva Connections has three main pillars. It has dashboard, where the company author can compose cards and applications that different types of users, such as frontline workers or other audiences, can use to perform quick task actions that are important for their day-to-day work. In addition to the dashboard, we have the feed that gives the ability to have curated aggregation of the information across your organization, and the resources, which gives you the ability to access some of the key links that are available in your company. We can surface the dashboard in the mobile and rich clients by using the power of SharePoint, Modern Pages, and Publishing. And we also provide an authoring experience in SharePoint as well, which gives the ability to the content creators to build the dashboard for the entire organization. From the dashboard standpoint, you're able to create cards and provide functionalities and capabilities to the end user, so that the end user can click on the cards and access either pages or other kinds of interactive functionalities that the user can operate within the dashboard itself. You can see that we can provide capabilities where the cards themselves can be dynamic, so that they can respond to some of the actions that the end user performs. For example, we have a connector card, and connector is a functionality that we have at Microsoft to book shuttles that can help us move from across buildings within our campus. And you set the connector, and when the connector is ready, the card automatically changes without any end user intervention to notify them that the shuttle is ready. Now, in terms of the, I now wanted to just quickly go over the flow. So in terms of the components of the dashboard, we have the company name, the nav bar, the company logo, and the different types of card layouts. So here you have a medium card and a large card over here. And the company name and logo can be changed by the author or the admin. We rely on Teams admin experience and the Teams tenant admin capabilities to change this information, since Viva Connections is a Teams app. Now let's quickly talk about the overall flow. You have the card picker experience, which lets you add cards inside the dashboard. We can configure the cards, and once it is done, the card is available. The card may or may not have an immersive experience, which we call the quick view. And then from the quick view, you may or may not want to be able to access an external app. That can be an external page in SharePoint, or an external link, or an application in Microsoft Teams. Now, Emily will tell you more about what is new in the Viva Connection space.
Yes, thank you, Sid. He kind of gave you a little bit of an overview of the quick view there, and that's what we're going to be focusing on from here on out. So until recently, a Viva Connections quick view card developer did not have a convenient way of developing cards with a predictable visual outcome. There was no way to kind of build the template out with all these card elements and then see how they would look in Viva Connections. So if you use one of the existing host apps that you can kind of see here in the GIF, maybe the bot framework, you would know the basic layout and functionality of your quick view card, but you would not be able to confirm the details of how the card would render. So to address this issue and provide a more accurate and robust authoring experience, we brought in a dedicated Viva Connections host configuration with custom styling. And so that's what you're seeing here in the GIF. You can go down and select Viva Connections preview from the select host dropdown and describe your content as a simple JSON object as usual. This content can then be rendered natively inside a host app and automatically adapt to the look and feel of Viva Connections. So as part of this visual alignment effort between Viva and the Adaptive Card Designer, we did a full design audit of all the card elements available in the Adaptive Card Designer. So everything you see there in the card elements list on the left, from containers to inputs to text blocks and more. And we applied the Fluent Design styles to properties like spacing, color, fonts, rounded corners, and updated all of the input controls that you see there to be styled just like they are in Fluent UI React, so that they will be cohesive with the design system in Teams and in SharePoint. Almost all of the same style updates we have done for the Viva Connections product, you will also see in the Adaptive Card Designer Viva Connections host app. So now, any quick view card holding card designer will automatically adapt to the look and feel of Viva Connections, so you can kind of see the outcome of your designs instantaneously. Next, Sid will show you what this full workflow looks like from the adaptive card template design that you're seeing here to authoring a quick view in SharePoint.
Yeah. So I'm just going to play my demo.
In the first part of the demo, I'll be showing you how the card you design in Adaptive Cards Designer will look when it is compared to the same card in the Viva Connections dashboard. For this demo, I'll be creating a card for one of our products, HoloLens. So first, I'll be going to the Adaptive Card Designer side. I'll select Viva Connections Preview as my host application. Next, I'll be replacing the default template JSON with the JSON that we have for our HoloLens card. You can click on the preview mode to see how it looks. As you can see that the moment I introduce the JSON, it immediately got rendered here. You can scroll to see how your card looks, and if you want, you can make changes from here. Now I'm going to show you how you can get the same card in the Viva Connections dashboard. Edit, and then I'm going to edit the properties of the HoloLens card. Change the card action to show the quick view, and then insert the same JSON that we had introduced here. Next, I'm gonna click Preview. There you go. So you can see the card that got generated in the Adaptive Card Designer, the Viva Connections host application. It's identical to the card that we have in the Viva Connections dashboard. With this work, you get what you see. Now, Max will demo the different card scenarios that one can come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth. Now let's take a closer look at what's possible to achieve with adaptive cards. Here, you can see a set of sample cards with quick views tied to the cards themselves or the action buttons. All these quick views were designed with the business scenarios in mind and to demonstrate layouts and adaptive card capability. Adaptive Card Framework has a pretty basic set of building blocks. Nevertheless, you can still create pretty complex and attractive UIs. And it's easy too. Even a designer like myself can build a quick view within 30 minutes. Devs, though, can do more exciting things like using dynamic data or API. This events card right here has a schedule quick view that features animated GIF, text blocks, 2 pivots for day 1 and day 2 schedule, column set, and a registration form. Next up, it's Office 365 card with top 5 frequently asked questions quick view. If you click it, you'll see a pretty simple layout with an accordion list containing answers. You can collapse and expand each item. Category 34. Food is a common scenario across all businesses. Here we can see an example of a menu for a cafeteria featuring stations in rotation and resident menus. It's a pretty complex layout using column sets, images, and text. This card is different from the previous 3 because it doesn't use CDA to show quick view. Instead, quick view is tied to the card itself because the card uses image layout. If we click the card, you'll see somewhat fancy layout using the timeline, dates, images, and supportive text. Time off. Time off has a pretty simple quick view with a prominent headline image and a title. Also, it features current balance of sick days, pay time off, and wellness. Also, a simple form to submit your time off. Inventory. This card has a pretty complex quick view that features nested containers. You can see them right here, and a pretty complex column set layout below. And this concludes my overview of currently available quick view layouts. I'm pretty sure that we're going to be expanding these layouts in the future and sharing them with developer community.
Now, Max, do you mind telling us about the differences between the mobile and the web?
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate your support. Just a few words on what expectations you should have when seeing renderings of quick views on web and mobile. So Adaptive Card is not a pixel perfect tool, and you should expect some differences between what you see on the web and what you see on the mobile, as the screenshot on the right clearly demonstrates. You can see like differences in faces, font sizes, some of the colors can be different, but overall it should be a pretty close representation of the Adaptive Card that you will see in Adaptive Card Designer across iOS, Android, and web. And we are aware that like there are some functional design gaps there, so we would really appreciate your help and feedback to identify those in case we missed them. And feel free to use to send your feedback our way, and we're going to address them as soon as possible. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those demos. As we can see, the chat is very excited. It looks like the adaptive cards were really standing out for everyone. So that's great. I wanted to briefly just mention some changes that we have to our website. So after the 1.5 update, we released the website with the new schema changes as well. And I will go ahead and link our blog post. So this is the blog post I wrote for version 1.5. In here, you will find all about version 1.5 new features in our schema and how to utilize them as well. And if you need more information, you can also go over to our Schema Explorer. And there you can find some more examples for that as well. Without further ado, we can go ahead and jump over to the Q&A section. I also wanted to mention, we do have Harish on the call from the Power Automate side. So if we have any Power Automate questions, we can ask those as well. I know in the previous community calls, people have had a lot of those. And it looks like Chris is up.
Hello, everyone. I do have a question on the Power Automate side. Is there any update on the team's adaptive card Flowbot working with the adaptive cards 1.4 or later? Currently, it gives an error about unable to render inside of Teams.
Yes, we are currently working on updating to 1.4 for the action. The main thing is we need to make sure that Teams, the client, is also updated so that we are in sync with the cards that are being sent. 1.5 is going to be when the Teams client supports it, we can update to 1.5 as well. But we're targeting this quarter for 1.4.
Thank you.
Sorry, when you say this quarter, is that Q4 2021?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and scroll through the chat, see if there were any questions that were left unanswered. So David had a question for the Viva Connections folks. Have you guys had to implement any custom elements or modify the SDKs via extensibility at all to achieve those designs?
Seb, do you want to take this one?
Well, I was actually going to let.
I can take it.
It's been a mix. Yeah, there's a mix of things we've done. So I'll let.
Hey guys, I can take it. No, we haven't made any changes in the MS Adaptive Card and the Microsoft Adaptive Card package as of yet. What we have done is work with Jonathan Miller and his team, filed some GitHub issues with certain components that we've discovered issues with. That said, this is just a start, and I don't see us not working in the Adaptive Card core package to bring some of our capabilities across the board.
So, sorry, just a follow-up question. What you're saying is that this was done with out-of-box capabilities, plus a few bug fixes as you found issues and you worked them out with the AC team, correct?
Yes, this was done with out-of-box capabilities, with Viva having its own host configuration and certain style overrides. But all the components that we're using right now are the core components. None of the stuff that you're seeing on the designer is our custom component.
So this is really, really awesome. I just want to mention it again. I cannot convey how much this is pleasing me in the chat, but to me, this is really this really illustrates the power of adaptive cards and why we are actually building that technology. Those are really fantastic, to the point I'm thinking we need to do something about it, like a white paper, like you guys writing, I know that's work, but you guys writing something alongside, here is our experience, here is how we achieved that, here is how we worked with the designers, because there's necessarily, a learning curve as to this is what the designer might have put together initially, and then we had to work with them because adaptive card still has constraints and some things cannot be achieved. How all of this has been done to achieve those amazing results, I think that would be phenomenal.
Yep. First of all, yeah, we are very excited about the framework, and we're just looking forward to building on top of that. And absolutely, that's a great feedback. We will completely do that. That's a great feedback. We'll follow up.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for that question, David. Just quickly in the chat, we have Offer Gao asking Outlook supports which version now? And this is a little complex. By speaking with the Outlook team, I discovered that Outlook, the version that's listed for Outlook in our partners page is 1.0. And this is because not all clients of Outlook support 1.4. So there are some clients that do support 1.4, but there are some clients that don't. But every Outlook client currently supports 1.0. We have people with their hands up. Chris, did you have another question, or was that the previous one?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to remove my raise hand feature, but actually I just typed something in the chat about adaptive cards in Azure Logic apps. Will that also be rolling out side by side with the Power Automate release?
I can't speak for the Logic Apps team, but I would assume yes, but I can confirm with the Logic Apps team.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. We have Gus Thompson.
Yeah, JP, I was wondering if there was any update on the adaptive components or the component. pieces you're looking to add to, I don't know, 1.6 or whatever version that fits into?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're actually in the middle of prioritizing all the work that we want to get into 1.6. We have started development on some of those. On our GitHub, the latest one we've been working on has been a carousel control for adaptive cards. And as far as adaptive components, that's also one area that we're focusing on right now. We can't promise any dates, but as soon as we have any updates, I'll be sure to either share it through a blog post or share it on our GitHub. As Max mentioned, we do have the discussions page on GitHub. We're trying to get all like questions or feedback if you guys are trying to try out Viva Connections and the experience that was demoed in this call, and you run into any issues, please go ahead and post it in our discussion section on GitHub for us to be able to look at and understand if there's any issues you're facing.
I do want to answer a couple of questions from the chat, which is about the adaptive card designer within the editor. That's currently only supported for teams-based triggers. The primary reason is we need an efficient way for us to handle dynamic tokens within the action. So we haven't actually brought that within the actions like post an adaptive card to teams or post a reply, etc. And in some of the newer actions, like the unified actions that we've rolled out, we've actually rolled back some of the designer changes. Once we have a way to handle dynamic tokens more efficiently within the editor, we do plan to bring that back, but that's just down the line. For now, the experience would still be you need to go for that.
Can I have just a small question to that designer built into actions? Do you know that if that change is rolled out, will it also support the data binding so that we won't be really requested to just put dynamic outputs into the adaptive card JSON code, but that we'll just be able to bind data using the data binding functionality?
That is something we're considering for supporting dynamic tokens, because the other way would be like we need to host multiple iframes, etc. So it became a little more complicated than we wanted it to be. So
okay, that is what you meant. Okay, thank you.
Cool. I do see John asking which Outlook client supports which versions. That's an excellent question, John. I don't have the answer to that question, but I can follow up with the Outlook team, unless there's someone from the Outlook team on the call, which I don't believe so, since they're on different time zones. But if there isn't, John, I can definitely follow up with you and provide that information.
I may be able to answer the question about Outlook if there's nobody on the call.
Oh, perfect, David.
Is the question, I don't know, I was writing something on the side. Has the question been asked already?
Oh, yes. So the question was, which Outlook client supports which versions of adaptive cards?
So at this point in time, all Outlook clients except for Win32, I believe, support 1.4 with the universal action model. Win32 is coming. I mean, we've been saying that it was coming soon for a while. There have been some complications, but it's on the way. It's still planned to happen as soon as possible, as soon as some technical things have been solved.
Thank you for the answer there, David. And I'm going to go ahead and
should be, yes, iOS should be iOS, Android. iOS, Android, Outlook web app, and I believe as well as Mac. Actually, I'm not 100% sure about Mac, but sorry.
Awesome. And Mike's question here. Are there plans to roll out Outlook adaptive cards in Power Automate similar to the Teams actions? Harish, do you want to just...
I did answer that in chat. Not in the near term. The team is pretty heavily booked on Teams actions right now, but it is something on our backlog.
Awesome. I think I've gone through all the questions in the chat. Does anyone have any open mic questions?
Well, I can just have one question about the universal actions model. Are there any plans on implementing the support for them in Power Automate so that we'll be able to simply post one adaptive card to like Outlook and Teams and have one bot handling the responses and closing cards here and there, depending on where the answer is coming from?
We have explored that specifically for approvals, but not beyond that, Thomas. We need to look into it.
Okay.
And this is something that's currently available with Power Automate, right? The approval ones.
Approvals, yeah.
Perfect. Craig is asking, since Loop was announced and Loop Live components, does this have any interaction with adaptive cards or affect adaptive cards? I'm not too familiar with that announcement, Craig. Could you elaborate a little more?
Just bringing it up because it was on a Twitter post today, and Matt Devaney was asking that particular question, so I didn't know if you guys had any extra insight.
Looks like Besa answered that question, and the answer would be no.
I can a bit elaborate.
I think Besa actually just responded to that.
Yeah.
he just shows up with a different last name and in Twitter.
Did I? Okay. Anyway, so basically the loop is still in preview, or well, it has not been released, and it's using the Fluid Framework card. So adaptive card is a different technology. Now, maybe potentially, who knows, where Matt and JP and everybody is pushing adaptive card in the future. There might be interesting opportunities there. Let's say in 12 months or 18 months or 24 months timeframe. But for now, no connection between any of that.
Yeah, Devaney was just curious if it was going to be adaptive card killer or not.
No. We'll see. Never know. It's really hard to predict future, but again, highly doubtful. And adaptive card is G8, so it's in production. 1.50 or 1.5 is the latest, and all of that. So Loop is not yet in GA status.
I just figured I'd ask. So just
absolutely.
Thank you for the question, Craig.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah, John is asking, and this is one for Viva Connections, is there ability to customize the cards in Viva Insights?
Vesa can answer that, and the answer for now is no. So Viva Connection is the only which has the only extensibility option in here. So you can actually create the cards and modify the cards. So all of the other Viva products, which are 3 or 4 of them, depends on how do we count ally at this point. And they do not have a UX extensibility model, at least for now. So there's an ongoing discussions internally in Microsoft with the Viva Central and across the different teams that there might be potentially future direction where the Viva Connection card model is going to be extended to other Viva products as well, but no explicit plans and no decisions on that at this point.
Awesome, thank you. Gareth is asking, is there any update on when Teams is going to increase the maximum message size? David, do you want to answer that one?
I responded to that. I just responded to that actually in a thread. Maybe that was not this one. Teams has already shipped a feature called full-size cards. I don't think there is a plan beyond that. So a full-size card is actually not a card that's going to use the full width of the chat pane. It's just going to be wider than the standard card that would display otherwise. And it's a team-specific feature, obviously. But so that's shipped already. And I can try to find the documentation page that says how to leverage that thing. And there's nothing else that's planned at this point.
Sorry to interrupt. It referred to the payload size. The amount of data you're able to send in a Teams
so that's what you're talking about. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not about the visual size. So it is so I don't know that there is an explicit work item to fix that, but it's been discussed a lot. And I think it's still going to happen at some point. I can't give you any ETA. It's on the backlog.
Cheers.
Chris asks, where can we look to find out once Adaptive Cards 1.4 for Power Automate / Teams has been implemented? Blogs, posts, docs, and Harish mentioned that they will update their Teams connector documentation to reflect that change.
Yeah, and I'll work with you to update the Adaptive Cards partners page as well.
Absolutely. James is asking, does Outlook 365 support the universal action model yet? I can deliver the card and have it render, but get a non-error when the button is clicked. And I do think that should be supported already. James, would you be able to elaborate a little more on the question?
Yeah, so I've got a bot that delivers the card renders perfectly well, but whenever I click on an action, I get an error back saying that it could not communicate with the server. So I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong. I'm sending it with the defined originator ID. I don't know if there's anything else that I would need to do in order to get the card to sort of post back to the server.
Yeah, that's going to be a little hard to debug on this call, James.
Sure.
If it would be possible, could you maybe post an issue on the Adaptive Cards GitHub to try to get you some more information on there?
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say, we have these calls and we always say the problems because that's what everybody has to deal with, but really well done, guys. These are awesome things that you're working on, so thank you.
Thank you, Gareth, for that call out. Yeah, we try to have these calls every month to get some interaction and feedback from the community. I know that the Q&A mostly focuses on the problems, but every now and then we have some good feature that ships out that solves one of these problems. So it's awesome to be able to highlight those out as well. And the Adaptive Cards community is a very positive one as well. So Mike is asking, do any of our other counterparts have calls like this, Power Apps, Power Automate, etc.?
Yeah, the Power App community we do, it's Microsoft Power Apps community call. It's on a Wednesday. The one coming up is on the 17th.
Thanks for that, Craig.
Yep, no problem.
We have John asking, is Viva Connections included with M365 E5?
Yes, Viva Connection is available on every SKU where SharePoint is available and Teams is available. So E3 and E5 is not a separate SKU.
Thank you for that, Luca.
Maybe just to elaborate on that one, because the SKU is a term which not necessarily anybody knows. So Viva Connection is part of your Microsoft 365 license. You do not have to pay any extra. You can enable Viva Connection in any existing tenant which has an E3 or E5 solution on it. It's all free to be used in anywhere, which is pretty cool.
Thank you, Basin. And Max just provided information on the Power Apps community call. Looks like it happens on the third Wednesday of each month. So the next Power Apps call should be Wednesday, the 17th of November.
Up and yours truly will be presenting in that meeting. So,
Craig, you said you were going to be presenting?
Yep, I'll be presenting out on a Power App game.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. Any last minute questions here? Looks like none. Thank you everyone for joining the Adaptive Cards community call. In this slide, you can find a list of resources. We have our roadmap, information on templating, and our repository as well. So here we have a list of the rest of the M365, our partner community calls. Well, thank you so much everyone for joining on this community call. Thank you Viva Connections for presenting and showing us these awesome adaptive cards and how they work well with the Viva Connections product. And I hope to catch you guys in the next community call scheduled for December the 9th.
Thanks, JP. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Very useful.